Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we are looking at the top 10 decks for the upcoming Latin America International Championships. It kicks off this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and I tell you what, it's going to be a very fun tournament indeed, but we need to know what the top decks are. Now, a little bit of context here. Forbidden Light is not legal for this tournament, so this is a very mature format. We've had the cards for a while now, and we kind of know what's good. So this video is largely based on recent results. We had a regional in Portland and Charlotte. They were two big American regionals, and there was a regional in Prague over here in Europe. I've also had a quick look at results from a couple of Latin America tournaments in Buenos Aires and in Santiago that were a little bit smaller, but having said that, they were in Latin America, and actually, if you look at the results from last year's Latin America International Championship, Brazilian players did very, very well indeed. Now, first of all, a couple of decks that did not make the list. These fire decks like Volcanion and Ho-Oh, they're just not seeing enough play at the moment. They're not seeing enough success. They're fine decks, and they're still a decent choice, but they're just not doing very well at all. Similarly, Duskmane Necrozma is popping up here and there, sometimes played with Magnezone, and sometimes played with Silvally, but it's just not seeing enough success to put it into my top 10 decks. I'm not saying these are bad decks, I'm just saying they've not proven themselves over the last couple tournaments. Zoroark Weavile, to put it bluntly, there are better Zoroark variants that are having a lot more success at the moment, so you don't need to bother with Zoroark Weavile. And Glaceon, either with Garbodor or with Zoroark. It's great in theory because it turns off abilities of EX and GX Pokemon, but honestly, it's just not good enough as an attacker to really make a lot of noise. And BUZZWOLE Garbodor, it's a nice little deck and it's absolutely fine, but there's better BUZZWOLE decks and there are better Garbodor decks around. So in at number 10, BUZZWOLE Lucario. Now, Lucario decks are a little bit awkward because they were only really legal for Portland, and BUZZWOLE Lucario only got a top 16 in Portland. It doesn't really have the results around it, unlike the other decks on this list, but it's not really had enough time per se. It's got BUZZWOLE and Lycanroc, two big powerful fighting types. You're hitting Zoroark for weakness, they're both attacking for 1 energy. I think there's a lot to like about this deck, so I'm popping it in at number 10. In at number 9, Greninja Break. Now, we all know about Greninja retreating for free and turning off abilities with Shadow Stitching. We all know about Greninja Break's Giant Water Shuriken, where you can do 6 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And we all know about Water Duplicates and Frogadier that allows you to get all your Stage 1s out at once. We also know it's a deck that's absolutely famous for bricking and not setting up, but it's still sticking around. It did get 3rd in Charlotte and a top 16 in Portland, although that was the same person, Joe Ruttiger, actually got both of those results. But then it got 3rd and 6th in Santiago. It is seeing a little bit of play in Latin America, so actually I do think that it's still a viable deck, and I think it will turn up in small numbers, but I'm expecting to see some in or around the top cut, so I'm popping it in at number 9. In at number 8, Zoroark Lycanroc. You take Zoroark with a trade ability, discard a card from your hand and draw 2, and Riotous Beating that does decent energy for just a double colourless energy, 120 if you've got a full bench. And then you add in Lycanroc, who's got a really good GX attack, 50 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and an ability that drags one of your opponent's Pokemon into the active, and you've just got a powerful deck. It's good in the mirror because Lycanroc, as soon as you get Claw Slash rolling and you play double colourless energy, is going to be just KOing Zoroark's left, right and centre, and Zoroark struggles to KO Lycanroc. And with the gusting effect and the consistency, it's going to be a whole bunch of random decks. It's not the best Zoroark deck around at the moment, but it's still good enough to come in at number 8. In at number 7, Hoopa. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Hoopa. And I tell you what, it just doesn't look terribly impressive when you first look at it. 120 HP, and it does 80 damage for free energy. I mean, none of this looks particularly exciting. But it's got complete immunity from Pokemon EX and Pokemon GX. And it got a top 16 finish in Charlotte and Portland. It even got as high as 7th place in Portland. It is actually a good deck. As weird as it is, it's a deck that you really have to start taking seriously. Now, nowadays, people tend to be playing the attacking version of it, using stuff like Fighting Fury Bout to give it a bit more bulk, and then attacking so that you can win the game without having to worry about your opponent decking out. If you play against a deck that doesn't have good non-GX attackers, you'll win pretty much every time. In at number 6, a similar deck, but I think a little bit better, Sylveon GX. Anyone who watches my stream, twitch.tv/PTCGRadio, knows that I think this is not a terribly fun deck to play. But the results speak for themselves. 3rd place in Prague, top 8 in Charlotte, top 8 in Portland. You've got Energy Evolution Eevee, so you can evolve straight up on turn 1 of the game, unless your opponent starts Wobbuffet, in which case, ha! And it's got Magical Ribbon for 1 energy to search for any free cards you like, and then you can even just go hitting 110 a turn. Decks generally tend to play a very thin Gardevoir line nowadays to give it a pretty good attacker, and it's just seeing success everywhere. It's showing up in all the big tournaments, and it's in at number 6. In at number 5, my favourite deck at the moment, VIKAVOLT Tapu Bulu. Now, like so many Stage 2 decks at the moment, if you set up, you're probably going to win. If you don't set up, you're probably going to lose. But Tapu Bulu's done a lot of winning lately. 3rd place in Prague, top 16 in Charlotte, and then in Latin America it got 4th in Buenos Aires and 5th in Santiago, which makes me bump it up the list just a little bit, because it is seeing success in Latin America at the moment. You've got VIKAVOLT, which accelerates 2 energy from your deck onto your Pokemon, 1 grass, 1 lightning, and then you've got Tapu Bulu, your main attacker here, who does 120 for free energy. But if you discard all the energy attached to it, you do 180. And then with a choice band, you do 210, and Zoroark goes down, etc. If you set up and draw into your choice bands, you are going to win most of your games here. But that is a rather large if. In at number 4, Zoroark GOLISOPOD, and I struggled to find where to put this. Because on the one hand, it got 1st place and 3rd place in Prague, although 1st place was Tordireklev, and he's so good I'm not sure how much that counts. And then another 3 in top 16, but then it didn't do well in Portland and it only got 2 top 16s in Charlotte, so it crushed the last good European tournament, but it didn't do so well in the tournaments in America. But here you've got Zoroark, and we've already spoken about how good that is. And then we add in GOLISOPOD, 1st impression, single basic energy, 120 if you became active this turn. Also, Crossing Cut GX with a choice band does 180. And as we've discussed, Zoroark just does not have a very good GX attack. I mean, this GOLISOPOD isn't great, but you can get a KO on a Tapu Lele, so you should still be getting 2 prizes with it, so that's alright. It's a good deck that just relies on using Stage 1 Pokemon that attack for 1 energy, and then you can abuse cards like Ace Roller to pick up and heal, and then just keep going and going and going. Denying KOs, attacking for 1 energy, you're not getting big KOs, but you are being efficient. But that's not even the best Zoroark deck on this list. The best Zoroark deck on this list, at number 3, is Zoroark Lucario. Now, it got 4th place in Portland, but that was the only one of the US and Europeans it was legal for. But then it got 1st, 4th, and 7th in Santiago, and it got 8th in Buenos Aires. And remember what I said at the beginning of this video, Lucario's not really been out long enough for us to judge it properly yet, so there's a very good chance it's even better than we're giving it credit for. It's kind of like GOLISOPOD, in that for 1 energy you can do 120, except you must have evolved this turn rather than become active. But you're hitting for weakness on Zoroark, and then you've got the ridiculous GX attack for a double colourless energy, which you're playing in Zoroark decks, that does treble the amount of damage that is currently on you. And that adds up to a Pokemon that is probably going to be winning a lot of games. I mean, one strong energy and a choice band, you're actually getting a one-hit KO on a Tapu Lele, as well as easily KOing the best Pokemon in the format, Zoroark. Zoroark stuff are good, to be perfectly honest, but Zoroark Lucario, I think because of the typing, the GX attack and all that, is the best of the lot. In at number 2, and I was so close to putting this at number 1, Garbodor, Espeon, and probably Drampa. It got 1st and 2nd in Portland, and it got 5th in Buenos Aires. It's a really, really good deck. Espeon has again got the Energy Evolution Eevee, which comes along for a single energy, and then 30 damage plus confusion. But remember, you're hitting weakness against BUZZWOLE, which is always good. Then you've got the bigger attack Psychic, which should get a fairly easy KO on a BUZZWOLE. Then you've got Divide GX that allows you to just pop 10 damage counters wherever you like. And players can do a lot of damage with that. And then you bring in Garbodor that just does 20 damage for each item in your opponent's discard pile, so you're confusing them and then punishing them if they happen to play cards like Switch or Floatstone. Yay! We do see a little bit of Drampa here as well. Drampa's not quite so good, especially with the fighting weakness, but it does for a single energy get rid of a special energy while doing 20 damage, and you can big wheel to get a new hand of 10 cards, and Berserk, if you've got a damaged Pokemon on the bench, does 150, 180 with a choice band, so there's a lot to like here. We even see some of these decks putting in Tauros for the ridiculous GX attack, which happens to be the same as Lucario's. But none of those are my number 1 deck, ladies and gentlemen. My number 1 deck for the Latin American International Championships is BUZZWOLE Lycanroc, because all it does is win. 5th and 8th in Portland, couple top 16s in Prague, 1st, 2nd, 4th and 8th in Charlotte, 1st in Santiago, 2nd, 6th and 7th in Buenos Aires. It just always gets to the top of these tournaments. You've still got BUZZWOLE, 1 energy, 30 to the active, 30 to the bench. That's good. Not to mention free energy, and you're either doing 160 or 40 damage times all your remaining prize cards, and early in the game that's 240. Then you've got Lycanroc to drag Pokemon active and a really good GX attack, and it just keeps winning. It is such a good deck because you've got the gusting of Lycanroc, the single energy of BUZZWOLE, and you're hitting weakness against an amazing type. I'm not saying BUZZWOLE Lycanroc is going to win, but I am saying it's an exceptionally good deck, and it's probably one of the reasons why Garbodor Espeon had such a good showing in Portland was because BUZZWOLE Lycanroc destroyed Charlotte. I'm not saying one of these 10 decks is going to win. I'm saying we're in a mature format at the moment. We've had this exact format for a couple of months, and we can look at results and see what's good rather than just trying to guess. But as always, you guys might disagree, in which case, brilliant. Please let me know in the comment section, and if you want to give a top 10 list of your own, I would be delighted. Go nuts, but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWossy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, and do check out my video game /Dragon Ball Super channel, Wossy Plays. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.